Death is a big mystery that is hard to understand. It doesn't mean that I, Dr. Tashrihi, can say that I understood death. But I can tell you that I know how to solve a simple part of the mystery of death in each part 1 explain. I don't consider myself an employee who does his job as much as I see myself as a researcher searching for secrets, exploring the hidden. I chose this path because I believe that every life has a value and every death has a meaning. I can't say that my job is easy, and I can't say that I got used to death as a part of my daily life. But I can say that I learned to control my emotions. I learned to live in the dark. I learned to enjoy the unknown. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. This is Olivert James, and this is Narrator New Episode. It is inspired by real events and is part of the legal field of medicine. This is an episode from the Book of Promises of Olivert James. This is one of the things about death and Tashrihi. We should be careful because this topic is a bit sensitive and has some words that are not relevant to us. We should be careful about the terms and the general atmosphere. This atmosphere is not easy for those who talk about it or for those who listen to it. May God protect us. Don't forget to like this video because it makes a difference. We want to reach 15,000 or 20,000. These things make YouTube understand that we are continuing. But if we miss it, it won't be counted. YouTube will tell you that the content is not desirable. Don't forget to like this video. Let's start the episode. I am Basil, a Tashrihi doctor. I work in a project in a governorate of Wajah Qibli. I chose legal medicine to be my job and my study despite the reputation of this specialty among all people. Honestly, I was determined on this specialty, and I understood that everyone around me couldn't understand my motives, and they don't know how passionate I am about my job. Tashrihi is the only thing that makes me feel that I am able to achieve justice. I am able to end my son or my husband so that they don't ask me why and how for the rest of their lives. Today was normal. The atmosphere is calm and the air is heavy. Half an hour after the start of the operation, Salama entered my office. Salama's smile, which I don't have any reason for, came in to tell me that there is a body and that I have to go and pick it up. Salama is the oldest person here in the project. He knows all the big and small people in the place. He is annoying, but I always stop him at his door. I want justice, I don't care about them. I knew that he was coming before I reached the office. The sound of Salama's footsteps and the sound of his skin being pulled on the floor of the project could wake up the dead themselves. Hello, Dr. Basil. Hello. A new body? Yes. Yes, come and pick it up. The security guard with the body says that they found it thrown on the road and no one knows where it came from. There is no paper with the body. It looks like it's been crushed and I can't get the smell of fire out of it, even though he says it's not burned. Uncle Salama, enough. I'm gonna pick it up. You take a rest. As you wish, doctor. I went out and Salama followed me. I picked up the body and decided to start working on it. The night is still in the beginning and I'm alone. There is no new work but this body. Thank God. The world is shaking and this is the best atmosphere I like to work in. I know now that you are saying that this is crazy. Do you think there is someone who likes to work on the body alone at night? Honestly, you are right. This is something that no one will understand. But as I told you, legal medicine is not just a job for me. Legal medicine is a passion. And every time I explain it, it makes me feel that I am closer to solving the mystery of death. And then I get worried about what? I'm working on a body. It has no right or strength. It won't hurt me, nor will it be able to defend itself. And if I mean the things you hear in horror channels about voices, doors, and these things, please allow me to tell you that all of this is nonsense. Yes, nothing of this happens. The project is like any other place. There are no spirits, ghosts, or dark forces controlling it. I mean, if you think you are a legal doctor, rely on God and don't be afraid. Nothing will happen to you, I assure you. I picked up the body and went to the clinic. The doctor examined it, and Uncle Salam took it and took me to the clinic. I was used to working alone without a worker or assistant. And this is what I mean when I say that I organize everything by myself, from preparing the body and the tools until I return it to the fridge after the surgery. I don't like to rely on the workers for anything, and this is because most of the workers deal with the bodies as if they are something, not as humans. They don't consider the body as a human body. A human body can be gone in a few hours. The way most of the workers deal with the bodies in the project was violent. That's why I decided to prevent them from getting close to the bodies I work on. I do everything. I got ready to start the surgery, and the first thing I did was to prepare the tools and the equipment I will use, and then I read the report that arrived with the body. Unfortunately, there was not much information in the report. There is nothing that can help me. The body belonged to an unknown person. There were wounds all over the body, especially on the neck and the face, but they were not fatal wounds. There were burns on the arms and legs. The man was in a very difficult situation, and it seems that what he did was to hide anything that indicates his personality. Who did this to him and why? After the physical examination of the body, I started to take pictures. Most surgeons do not care much about taking these pictures, and they usually just describe the body. But I feel that this is a very important step, because these pictures can help me to know information or see specific details that I did not notice during the examination. I always try to see the pictures after the examination is complete, because, as they say, it gives me a fresh eye. This technique helps me see things that I have not seen before. I took all the wounds and burns on the body in the pictures, and it was clear from the physical examination that this man was between 50 and 60 years old. I left the camera aside and started to get closer to the body to change its position. I started to move my hands and continued to take pictures. But I do not know why. I felt a sudden cold wind. I looked around to see which window was open, but I did not find anything open. I looked at the window door. Maybe someone entered, but I did not feel it. But the door was closed, and no one entered. I ignored the situation and continued to take pictures. The wounds and burns were very clear that they were new. The wounds were mostly after the death, because there were no traces of blood on them. The wounds of this type are said to be non-living, and I think the purpose of them is to disfigure the body and imitate it. I started to cut the victim's clothes, most of which had traces of burning, but because they are made of wool, and wool is not easily burned. This step was important so that I could continue the physical examination, and then enter the internal examination. Indeed, there were other wounds under the clothes. The wounds were with a knife or sharp tools, deep-cut wounds, and most likely these wounds were the cause of death. I noticed after I removed the clothes and looked again at the hands and feet, that there were bruises on the victim's hands, but unfortunately, it was not clear because of the burns. Now I had to start the internal examination of the body. I looked at the tools table to take the knife, but it was not there. I'm sure I left the knife here. Maybe I dropped it. I looked under the table and around the table on the floor under the examination table, but there was nothing. I looked down and heard a knock. Do you know the noise you hear when there is a power cord and it is not fixed? I raised my head and looked at the light. Everything was fine. I got up and looked at the electricity, but there was no sound. Where did this knock come from? I went back to the examination table and I remembered that the lamp was not there. I was sure that I took it out and I thought maybe I forgot it in the closet. So I moved 2 steps to get another lamp, but before I went any further, I found the lamp in the same place I left it on the table. Basil, why are you not concentrating today? No, this will not work. You will order a coffee to drink first and then continue your work in a good mood. I remembered the picture of the scarecrow on the victim's shoulder. Parts of it were visible. I took a picture of the scarecrow on my phone and I sat down at the office. I tried to enlarge the picture to see if I could find any thread that could tell me what the scarecrow was. There was nothing clear. I thought of something, but I was not sure if it could lead me to the result or not, but it was an attempt and I did not lose anything. It was an AI application on my mobile phone. Simply, this application can make any drawing you want or any picture in your mind. It also has the ability to complete the missing drawings. I entered the picture on the program and left it to work. When the picture was loaded and the results of the program began to be prepared, the coffee had arrived. I drank it first, and before I continued my work, I took a look at the results, and there were about 22 results. Most of them were incomprehensible to me, and some were far from our culture as an Eastern society, and some were far from the man who was sleeping on the table and who came to me with a backpack. But the last result caught my eye. The result was the appearance of the sun god. I don't know why, but there was something inside me that moved. I kept looking at the drawing of the sun god until I suddenly felt that I could not see it more than that. I closed my eyes, and suddenly there was a picture that came to my mind. A picture of a hand drawn on it by the sun god. This hand was touching a small child crying next to his mother's body. This child was me, but I don't know why I see myself in this place. The scene was repeating in my mind over successive periods, but I couldn't determine its origin. Did I see it in a movie, or did it happen in front of me? I don't know. All I know for sure is that the picture of the hand I see is the one that appeared in front of me in the application. My memories of this period are not clear because I don't know. All I remember is that my life, my brothers and my father's were not stable. My father said that after my mother's death he could not live here alone. So he took us and we traveled outside of Egypt. We stayed for many years, and then we returned when my older brother was entering his senior year. Since then, we have not traveled again. I feel strange inside. In front of me is a body of an unknown person. I need to finish the exam and I am focused. I don't want my thoughts to be scattered. This is my job and the man in front of me is a trustee, and I can't let my thoughts or feelings control me. Basil, hold yourself. You are a smart doctor and today is a day like any other. I went to the board table and held the compass. I opened the compass, and I started to make a letter Y-shaped from the top to the bottom of the stomach. This Y-shape must be accurate and clean. I heard the sound of the tic-tac-toe while I was making this Y-shape, and not only that, I also felt that there was a loud breath coming from behind me. I swear, Uncle Salama, if I had entered without permission again, I would have given you a 3-day vacation. But I did not hear a response. I looked behind me. I looked for Salama, but I did not find him. I looked around. The compass might have moved behind me, but there was no one. So I looked again at the body. The heart was in a good condition despite the age of the body. There were no signs of cardiac arrest or a heart attack, for example. The lungs did not have any effect on the smoke of the fire, and this means that the fire in the man's hand and his leg did not hide the data of the body. The internal organs in the abdomen were damaged, most likely due to the blows of the knife or sharp tools. At this stage, I had to start collecting samples of the organs, specifically the lungs, liver, and kidneys. These samples go to the laboratory to be analyzed, but of course they must be placed in special containers to be delivered safely. The procedure is usually routine, but we cannot do without it, especially since it helps to analyze these samples. I put all the samples in a bag from the lab's bags, and I wrote the data and the number on it. As soon as I stopped to put it in the fridge because it was sent to the lab in the morning, the light in the lab began to shake. Oh, this day. Is the world raining outside and affected by electricity? Or what is the story today? Electricity is full? Or is the lab going to explode? God forbid. I opened the lab door and called out to Salama. Hey, Salama! Hey, Salama! Yes, doctor, what's up? What's wrong with the electricity? What's wrong with it, doctor? It's not like it used to be. Like it used to be? Okay, did you go into the lab room a while ago? No, doctor, I went in the last time I brought you coffee. It was an hour and a half ago. Did anyone else come in? No, doctor. Did you feel them? Feel them? Who are they? No, I'm telling you, Salama, I didn't feel anything. And stop lying to the doctors who come here. I didn't believe this and I don't believe you anyway. No, doctor, I'm not lying. I swear to God, I saw and heard it. Did you really see it, or is this the effect you get every day? I'm sorry, doctor. I swear to God, you're unfair to me. So you don't drink a full cup of tea, Salama? It's a joke, doctor, from time to time. I don't always mean it. Well, I have a right here. I'm not unfair to you. I'm gonna get back to work. I went into the lab again to load more electricity, and of course all the networks here are broken, so it's normal for this to happen. I'm actually surprised how this hospital has been working so far. I took the electric fan and started opening the skull, and opening the skull for science is not easy. You have to work in this area and be 100% focused and take good care so that you don't do anything wrong that could harm the body's condition. Opening the skull is done to check the brain. I know I mentioned it, but it's a set of tests that we do even if the cause of death is as obvious as the sun. The brain test shows that there is no internal bleeding or damage to the brain. So the cause of death is definitely the cut wound in the abdomen area. And usually this wound is caused by a lot of bleeding, and this bleeding led to death. At this moment, it's only 1 second that I saw this woman's reflection on the door of the hospital. Oh God! Am I hallucinating? I took a deep breath and tried to calm down again. There is no power but God. There is no power but God. I continued my work and started checking the vertebral column and the bone. At this stage, I was looking for any broken bones, not necessarily new ones, because these broken bones could be an important evidence to identify the body. The body had one broken bone in the left arm area, and this broken bone was probably from childhood, and there were no other signs. At this point, the body's organs started to return, and I was about to close the body when I got a call from my father. I'm used to answering him whenever he calls me. Actually, my father's health was the reason why I was worried about him all the time. That's it, I'm done. We determined the cause of death, and I did all the tests. Now, I can write the autopsy reports. I took the pen and I was about to write, but I don't know why I hesitated. As if something is missing. I feel like I forgot something. It seems that I need to calm down and rethink everything from the beginning. I sat in my office and told myself to focus to know what I haven't done yet. Any information will help me and the body's owner. Any information, no matter how simple, can help in big discoveries. Age determination isn't enough, and the cause of death isn't enough either. I still need to know more. The more we know, the faster we'll determine the body's owner's identity. I finished thinking and I realized something. I went home and it was the same time as my father and brother. My father was preparing breakfast when I came in and I found him talking to me. Wow, Basil. It's obvious that your mother-in-law will love you. My brother said to him, whose mother-in-law? Someone is going to marry Hanuti's daughter. Dad. Hanuti? You don't know anything. My mother-in-law kept us away from crime. I'm the one who's missing. Come on, Dad. Take the food from me and let your brother change. Dad, I'm starving. I'm going to die and sleep. Finish your breakfast and go to sleep. A great hotel service, sir. Why didn't God create me to work at night when everyone is serving me and pampering me like this? God, Dad, you work at night? I'm telling you, why don't you change and have a nap with one of the bodies and tell me what you think? God forbid. I'm fine like this. I don't care about the court and the commercial judiciary. These are all procedures and employees and the final touch. Believe me, tell me what you think about the body. The body is fine. I'm telling you. I got an unknown body today, but it's a story. Don't tell me. There's no body that's been burned, and it's not just that. It's obvious that after death the murderer burned his hands and legs to hide the murderer's identity. He burned his hands because of the fingerprints, but why did he burn his legs? I don't know. Maybe when this happens, the murderer's goal is to hide a distinctive mark on the victim's body. But thank God, it didn't work. There's a burn mark on the body's arm, and it's obvious that it's the result of the old green ink. What does this burn mark mean? I don't know, Dad. There's a big burnt part of it. So what's the point? There's something I did that could help. There's an application where you enter any drawing and a picture is completed. When I entered the parts that I could see, it gave me a lot of suggestions. Maybe this could help. What kind of drawings? Most of them are Western, but there's one with the sun. What's wrong, Dad? I'll get you some water. Thank you, Dad. Thank God, I'm full. I'll finish my clothes and go down. What's wrong with him? He's supposed to be Uncle. Maybe your dad is in a hurry today. That's not a problem. Dad didn't wait for me today. He went down after 10 minutes to go to work. There was something inside me that surprised me when he suddenly went down for breakfast. He was having a normal breakfast, and the conversation between me and him was a normal conversation that happens every day. What made him get nervous and get up like that without waiting for me like he used to? 1 second. All of this happened after I got the wax that looks like the sun. No, I'm sure it has nothing to do with me. What does Dad have to do with wax? Couldn't open my eyes. I went to my room, and as soon as I touched the bed, I fell asleep. I was sleeping soundly and comfortably, and suddenly I felt cold. When I looked around me, I found myself sleeping on the bed, and on the bed next to me there was the same body of the man I was describing. I couldn't move. I was moving my face left and right. I was looking for anyone who could follow me. I tried to call for help, but my voice didn't come out. Suddenly, I heard footsteps. I looked at the direction of the sound and was surprised that the body of the man who was sleeping on the bed started to move towards me. Very slow but scary steps. I tried to move from my place. I tried to run, but I couldn't. I was shivering with something I couldn't see. The body was moving towards me, getting closer to me. I closed my eyes in fear, and I felt that my heart was going to come out of my body. When I closed my eyes, I saw her. I saw the woman I was imagining when I was a child, as my mother. She was sitting on her feet, and she was singing to me. I didn't hear the words, but I heard her voice. I didn't understand what she was saying, but this melody reassured me. I covered her feet. She took me off and put me on the couch. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. It was the sound of our old apartment doorbell. My mother ran to open the door after she looked at me. The doorbell rang, but I stayed in my place. I closed my eyes. My mother ran to me as soon as she opened the door. She sat next to me and put her hands in front of me as if she was protecting me from something big. Suddenly, I saw a hand pulling her. A hand drawn on it was the face of the sun god. I woke up, and my whole body was shaking. My face was soaked with sweat. Couldn't breathe. I stayed in my place for a while, trying to figure out where I was. I tried to convince myself that I was at home on my bed, and I was fine. Suddenly, it was 12:30 a.m. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. I picked up the phone and started to see what was new in the news. There were a lot of accidents, but there was no news about the unidentified body waiting for me at the hospital. Half an hour later, it was 1 a.m. I heard the sound of the apartment door opening. Who will come at this time? My father doesn't come before 6 a.m. He leaves work at 2 p.m. Maybe he forgot something and came to pick it up. As soon as I got out, I saw my father sitting near the apartment door. He put his hands on his face. There was a voice. My father is screaming. "Dad, what's wrong? Are you okay? Are you tired? Do you feel anything?" My father didn't answer me. He quickly wiped his face, patted me, and hugged his sister. Without a word, I tried to ask him a lot of questions, but he didn't answer me. Did you talk to him or not? What should I do? Time is passing and I have work to do. Should I go down and leave my father like this or wait? Dad, is it time to be late today? I will try my best. I sat in front of my father's room. I didn't hear my father's voice, and I couldn't move. My mind is in the body waiting for me in the lab. I should write its report today. My heart is with my father in the room. Half an hour before I got out, I heard my father's room door opening. "Dad, you're finally out. You look good, but I feel like you're hiding something from me. You're not dressed yet. You'll be late for work." "Dad, what's wrong?" "Nothing. Don't worry." "How, Dad? What happened? Tell me." "I'll tell you, but not now. Put on your clothes and go to work. When we meet in the morning, you'll see me well." "But Dad..." "Don't worry, Basil. Listen to me." Okay, Dad." I went to my room. I can't believe I'm listening to you and going downstairs. I was in the middle of the night and didn't know what to do. I put on my clothes and took out my white coat to put it on. I was putting on my coat when I suddenly remembered something. I remembered my father putting on my white coat. I had this for 4 years. My father was in a hurry. He held my hand and pulled me and my father out of the room. This was our old apartment. I remember it well. I remember that my father left everything related to us in the apartment that day. He didn't take anything from it. He only took me, my brother, and me. I heard my father coming from outside. He was asking my father what happened to him. My father told him nothing. My father entered the room and we asked him, "What's wrong, son? Did you fight with your father?" "No, of course not. He hasn't been well since this morning." "Didn't you notice him at breakfast?" "He came home early from work today and he wasn't well. When I tried to ask him, he left me and went into his room. He left only half an hour ago. He didn't want to talk to me." "Do you think there's a problem at work?" "I don't know. Anyway, it's good that you came. I have to go home now. If anything happens, call me. I'll leave my phone somewhere with a network. I got out of the house and went straight to the hospital. It was crowded, but fine. I didn't take long. I got there and as usual, the entrance to the clinic is empty except for the security guard. I greeted him and went into my office and drank coffee. I knew I was supposed to see what was behind me, but my mind was all with my father. I didn't know why I was worried. I closed my eyes and put my hand on my face. Then I saw the same smile again. The same hand that touched me next to my mother's body, which was soaked with blood. 1 second. Blood? This is the first time I remember this detail. I closed my eyes again and tried to focus. I tried to remember anything else, but nothing. I finished my coffee and went to the clinic. I don't know why, but as soon as I entered, I felt the coldness and it was as if all the windows were open. I took the body out of the fridge and called Salama to help me to put it on the table. Then I told him to leave. I don't know why, but as soon as Salama left, I remembered my father's question about the legs of the body. The hands because of the fingerprints. But why the legs? That's why the first thing I started with was the legs of the body. The burn in the legs is illogical unless the goal is to hide something. The right leg was not completely injured. It looks like I walked on a paved road. But no. Continue. Continue, Basil, and don't despair now. I really continued the examination, and it shows that there is an old wound in the left foot. The burn was superficial, and fortunately, it did not reach the layers of the internal skin. I felt that I had progressed, but there were still other things that I did not see. I need to focus more. I came to the Adela closet, the closet that contained the safe box with the victim's clothes. I haven't checked it yet. I left the body as it was, took out the box and started to take out the clothes. They were ordinary clothes like the Egyptian traditional clothes, the high-waisted and loose ones, the woolen jackets, and the traditional underwear. I took out everything carefully and looked at each thing carefully and checked them very carefully. I was looking for any trace or mark. I don't know what I'm looking for. I took out the underwear again to put it in the safe box, but I noticed something strange. There was something in the underwear. What is it? It's my uncle's bag. Why didn't I notice this bag before? I put my hand inside, and I felt that my hand came across something metal. Probably. I took it out, and it was a heart-shaped chain. I held the chain because I felt that I knew it, I saw it before, and I decided to open the heart to see what's inside. When I opened it, I found 2 pictures of 2 little children. I didn't pay much attention to the pictures because they were old and ugly, and also because I noticed something important that could change the course of the case. Nothing happened to the chain. It's perfectly fine. I mean, I could find fingerprints on it. I immediately took out the underwear and the fingerprints powder, and it started working. There were 3 fingerprints on the chain. I took it easy and I put the fingerprints on the system, and I sat for a long time until the data started to show up. The name of the fingerprint owner is Shuki Abed Shams. Abed Shams? No, there must be something wrong. How? For a moment, I grabbed the chain, opened it, and looked at the pictures again. These are not any children. This is me and my brother. How did this chain get here? Suddenly, everything came back to me. Fast waves, sounds, and speech. I felt like I was watching a movie. I thought I couldn't reach you. Shuki, please. My son is here. Please come in. We'll talk. I'll understand you. I swear I didn't do anything wrong. I'll come in. I'll come in to get rid of you and get rid of your pain. Shuki, I married your father's wife. I didn't do anything wrong. And when you married my father's wife, why didn't you tell me? I would have given you years if you didn't tell me. Because I know you won't understand. You don't listen to yourself. Mahmoud and I have been married for 6 years. That's enough. 6 years? You couldn't wait for me to get out of prison? I was traveling all over the country to take your soul. Your soul is the only thing that will heal me. And it's the only thing that will forgive you for your sins, you and your father. What sins? You and your father did all of this because you got married or because you wanted to keep me by your side forever. To make sure that I didn't bring anyone to ask you for inheritance. And who told you that you need it? Women in prison don't have an inheritance. Especially when you're a sinner like yourself. I'm not a sinner. And you can't do anything to me. No, I can. and then he took out a strange-looking knife and hid it in her chest. Her mother fell to the ground and her blood was all over her clothes. I got off the couch and held her hand. I was shaking it to get up. I didn't want to leave her. At the same moment, my father came from outside and entered the apartment. You took advantage of me, Mahmoud. You took advantage of my presence in prison and you married her behind my back. You killed her and harmed you and your children. You did what should have been done a long time ago. You washed my hands. And now I'm going to bury her next to her father, who agreed to this mockery. I'm going to tell the police. I'm going to arrest you. I'm going to tell them everything. My sister died. Her God died. And they'll show me how to prove anything. By the way, Mahmoud, if you tell them, I'll leave you. What's wrong with being executed 1 by 1? Executed 4 by 4? There's no difference. And then he took my hand and took it away from my mother's body violently. He took her body and went down. My mother was wearing this chain on her neck when she was killed. And my father tried to stop my uncle, but he threatened that if he got close to him, he would kill me and my brother. My father was afraid of us, and on the same day we ran away. We ran away and left everything as it was in our apartment. I looked at the body and I didn't understand. I didn't understand anything that I have now. This man is my uncle who killed my mother? I put everything back in its place after I filmed the chain and the pictures inside it. And I wrote the report of the explanation. And then I apologized for the case and took a leave. I couldn't say anything to my father. But I understood what happened to him when he heard the roar of the sun. I felt his pain. And what hurt me the most was that everything I thought I had forgotten came back to me again. All the memories I tried to bury inside me turned out to be still there, carved inside me. Today, the whole world has changed in my eyes. Even my father's point of view has changed. I can no longer look at him as the father who left the world to raise his children or as the husband who abandoned his wife and didn't give her her rights and ran away. I had no choice but to leave the case. But I was sure that my continuation in it was not for the sake of justice at all. The justice I studied and worked hard to achieve was almost over. But I kept waiting to apply for leave. Couldn't go home. I couldn't face him. I kept walking in the streets until nightfall. I didn't know if I could meet my father and look him in the eye after what I knew or not. When midnight came, I decided to go home. I opened the door and the lights were off. Thank God they're asleep. I'm exhausted and tired. I was going to my room when I heard my father's voice calling me. Basil. He was waiting for me as usual. He didn't sleep until he reassured us both. And I've been out all day and he doesn't know anything about me. What? Yes, Dad. What took you so long? I was a little busy. Busy with what? What's wrong with you? When did you start doing this? Or are you hiding something from me? The case I was working on turned out to be someone we know. Someone we know? Yes, Dad. Someone we all know. What are you saying? Dad, please. You know who I'm talking about. No, that's impossible. No, I don't understand. No, Dad. You understand. My uncle's body. My uncle who killed my mother. I'm sure. It was with the heart chain with my picture and my father. The chain of Sausan? Yes, Dad. She was in her womb when he killed her. Basil, do you remember? Do you remember? After all these years, do you remember? You never spoke or said anything. All I could think of was pictures. Pictures, and I wasn't sure if they were real or not. I thought they were my imagination because my mother missed me. I didn't know that this was a reality I lived in. God have mercy on her. Yes, you're right, my love. Why, Dad? Why did you leave her and run away? I ran away to protect you. Your uncle has always been evil. Even your grandfather was afraid of him. He married your mother when she was in prison. His murder was normal. Your mother wasn't the first one. He was already in prison for murder after fighting with someone in Farah. The man was setting fire as usual in Farah a long time ago. A shot entered his left foot by mistake. He considered it an insult. He killed the man at that time. We got married when she was in prison. He refused to marry anyone. He was afraid to tell her that he wanted her head, even though she didn't want anything. But his ambition was blind. His ambition made him kill her. He wouldn't hesitate to kill you and kill me if I stood in front of him at that time. I was afraid of you, but I'm the reason. I'm the one who should have protected her. I will hide her well from him. But when the years passed, I thought that he was bored or forgotten. I thought that he didn't care about her anymore. I didn't know that he didn't forget her and that he was still looking for her. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm really sorry. This, you're right. I know that you didn't have anything. I'm sorry. No, Basil. You have a right. I was a coward. I was afraid. I was afraid of you and myself. If anything had happened to me, who would have taken care of you? I thank God that you didn't turn out like him. You and your brother are different. You are stronger and have more endurance. And I'm stronger than you. I'm stronger than you. Promise me, Basil, that what you know now won't take you away from me. I have no one but you, my son. I didn't turn out like anyone else. I shook my head and I hugged him, as if he was my son, not the other way around. I finished my vacation and went back to work. I couldn't forget anything that happened or what I knew. I was following everything new in the case. The criminal investigation team was doing everything to get him to the prosecutor. But just knowing the victim's identity made it easier for them. After more than a month of investigations and gathering information, the prosecutor confirmed that Rafiq, Shaki's son, was the one who killed him. Rafiq was in a hurry to inherit, so he killed his father. Rafiq had always been suspicious and wanted to have fun, and that was the line that made him fall. Investigations proved that after Shaki's disappearance, money increased excessively with Rafiq and he spent without account. His movements were caught. One night, when he woke up, he confessed everything. The strange thing is that Rafiq didn't have any kind of regret. He couldn't predict the course of time and how justice would prevail in the universe. But there was one last thing he had to do. Are you the doctor of Sharia medicine who brought Deeb Mandelo? Yes, it's me. And why did you come here, doctor? Are there other bodies you're going to explain here? No, I'm here for the living, not for the dead. What do you mean? I wanted to see the son who was killed by his father for money. Fata Alam, the money you're asking for is everything in the world. If you were in my place and raised with someone like my father, you would understand. No, I don't understand. You don't understand that because of greed and audacity, he was a victim like your father. But the difference is that he was the victim of your father's greed. What are you saying, old man? Who is your mother? Your aunt, Sasan. Your father killed her in front of her son, who was 4 years old. My aunt, Sasan, died a terrible death and she never got married or had children. This is what your father told you. Obviously, he was hiding many secrets from you. But, glory be to God, with your hand, you achieved mother's justice. The same crime with different people. History repeats itself and the one who killed was killed. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. That's it. I hope you liked this story. I would like to thank Olivert James for her book and her deep study of legal medicine. This information cannot be written easily. It must be studied very well so that everything has a reason and a specific purpose. Thank you very much for listening so far. If you liked the episode, please like and share it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click on the bell button to receive all new updates. Join the family of the narrator group to see what's behind the stories. Also, follow me on YouTube because I post stories there every day about work and stories. Let's not forget our brothers in prayer in Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, and all places where Muslims and non-Muslims are oppressed. May God help them soon. That's it. See you in the next episode. Good night.